I am currently in Leadville, Colorado, in preparation for the Leadville MTB 100-mile mountain bike race, the highest and hardest one-day race in America. Specifically, I'm staying at the Slumber Yard by Freight in a suite called Spuddy. Spuddy is the nickname of the prostitute this suite is named after, because of course it is. Spuddy's real name was Etta Murphy, and she worked in a brothel here in Leadville back when it was a boomtown. And for the record, it's not just my suite that's named after a prostitute. If I have it correctly, all the suites are named after historical Leadville's most famous women of the night to honor their lives and contributions to what would become modern day Leadville. That's pretty cool, and I'm kind of honored to be here. Some of the nicest people I ever met when I was a police officer were prostitutes. So there's a tenuous but notable sense of connection by staying here. Plus, boxing has an old school theory that a man shouldn't have sex or relieve himself before a fight because it will deplete his strength.
Women weaken legs.
I'm not sure if the same holds true for mountain biking, but I don't want to take any chances. I need all the testosterone I can muster when I toe the line, and the thought of the spirits of dead prostitutes hovering nearby will keep me from touching myself in an impure manner, if you know what I mean. And I'm sorry if you do. I'm too stressed for that type of thing anyway. Not because of the upcoming race. No. Because of the drive here. So for those that don't know, I live in Canada and Leadville is in the United States of America. Driving here was a bit of a grind, not to mention getting prepared to drive here so that I could live here for 2 weeks before my race. Those 2 weeks are to help my body acclimate to the elevation. The elevation starts at 10,000 feet and goes up from there, way up. Whether the 2 weeks of acclimation helps remains to be seen. I'm recording this my first week in Leadville, so I'm still a while away from finding out. Driving here sucked. Not only is it a long drive, but a lot of that suck happens on a section of highway in Montana that is just plain gross. It's 2 lanes, there's no divider, and it's surrounded by suicidal ungulates and busy enough in both directions to make it feel like 360 degrees of high-octane hell.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
It reminds me a lot of what's known as the Highway of Death in my home province of Alberta, and they share several key characteristics. Not being twinned is a big part of the problem. Passing lanes that encourage tired people to speed is another. Anyway, I hated it, the whole experience, because Jesus Christ. I had this goal of driving at least 15 hours on the first day so that the second day would be much easier to cope with. Instead, I think I made it 10 hours and then tapped out at a truck stop named Eddie's Corner. And no apostrophe on Eddie's, by the way. Not sure if there's a story to that other than possessives being a tricky concept to grasp. But either way, I highly recommend Eddie's Corner if you're driving through that way. They let me sleep in the parking lot overnight, which was perfect timing by that point as the sun was well and truly down. And the only thing worse than what I described above as far as the highway is concerned would be trying to drive it at night. But Eddie's Corner has a gas station convenience store, a diner, washrooms, and even clean showers. There's a maintained green space next to the parking lot, and the lot itself is quite big. You're not parking right next to another vehicle and trying to rest while they're doing whatever it is they're doing in a truck stop parking lot overnight. And the women running the place are both super friendly, and that's always a bonus. So I slept overnight and woke up bright and early to some company behind my truck in the morning, which was nice. Just a couple of deer grazing in the morning sun right behind where I was parked, because I much prefer to watch deer graze on grass than careen across the front end of my truck. I'm weird that way. So that started the day off on a positive note. Once I was back on the road, I didn't stop much other than for gas, coffee, or both. I crossed into Wyoming in relatively short order after a disastrous detour that was entirely my fault, but didn't matter all that much to me after Montana was in my rearview mirror. Wyoming has a lot of cowboy imagery and iconography going on, as well as some other odds and ends that take some getting used to as a Canadian. For instance, it was a dramatic change to see a shift from Montana's meth PSAs on billboards to advertisements for faith healers and calls to abolish the federal government on Wyoming's billboards. But I'm not judging. I actually enjoyed a lot of the driving I did in Wyoming, and the few stops I made along the way were perfunctory. I would describe Wyoming as tidy. It's very squared away. I think a lot of that has to do with the number of bumper stickers and corner store signs that state in no uncertain terms that everyone is armed, whether you can see a gun or not. The message was unequivocal. Just because you can't see a gun doesn't mean there isn't a gun. It probably means there are 2 guns or 40. Anyway, I didn't mind it. The drivers were polite. The staff and customers were courteous. The overall experience was consistent with my just passing through the state to get to Colorado. Oh, Colorado. Turns out driving in Colorado is to sign up for something akin to a rally car race. You don't know when it's going to start, but you better be ready when it does. Driving in Colorado is all about speed and passive-aggressive passing. I think my Canadian license plate made me seem less like a competitor and more like a moving obstacle. So I don't have any specifics involving me.
Oh man, I see some crazy ass shit in my time.
But when a state has signs everywhere telling you it's illegal to drive slow in the fast lane and that there is a minimum speed to even drive in that lane, well, what can I say? Either way, Colorado highways are something else, in no small part to Colorado drivers, I suppose. But I wouldn't say entirely because I saw a lot of out-of-state plates. So I'm willing to concede that Colorado drivers are the way they are as a defense mechanism against every other idiot driver coming to their state. And I can respect that. But I'm here, safe and sound and rooming with the spirit of Spuddy and all her deceased brothel friends, taking in everything that Main Street Leadville has to offer as the days slip by until it's time for me to race and see how that plays out. And then I get to experience all of that driving in reverse order to get home. Awesome.